All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Welcome back to the Loose Wheels Show. I was wearing a hat, but now I'm not.
Andrew, they can't see your head. It doesn't matter. You could
I
tell them that
know.
you're wearing a you could what's that like costume you have? It's like a you wore it freshman year
I have
for
several.
Halloween. I don't
Oh, a gorilla costume.
Yes. Thank you. It's too early. It's too early. You could tell them that you're wearing your gorilla costume and they wouldn't know that you're not.
I could be in a hot air balloon right now.
You could be. No one has any way of proving you wrong but me. But I'm not gonna do that. So
Spoiler, I'm not in a hot air balloon. I am in my room.
I'm in a hot air balloon.
I can't prove you wrong because Ethan
No,
is not sharing his video. It just says Ethan. So he very well could be in a hot air balloon. But anyway, that is an intro. I'm Andrew Hazlett. That is Ethan Ignatowski. I was trying to go for a Jeremy Clarkson where I wear a hat. Ethan wears a hat.
I'm not wearing a hat.
Tonight on the Loose Wheel Show, we talk about the reviews and other things.
And now for last week's race reviews.
Into Toronto. Uh, as we talked about last week, uh, Nolan Siegel is battling an injury. Linus Lundqvist was available as a substitute. He wound up, Nolan Siegel wound up being cleared on Thursday to race, and he didn't have any issues over the weekend, so he raced. However, Santino Ferrucci crashed in the warm-up, and the team couldn't get the backup or the primary repaired in time. So Santino Ferrucci did
Why
not.
didn't they? What did they have to do to the backup that they couldn't do?
They just didn't have it ready.
Ah,
Like I don't know exactly what they needed to do, but they would have to do it in 2 hours, and it wasn't ready. So it's yeah, I don't know exactly. Holton Herta, Big Chungus, if you know, you know, leads from pole. Some pit early, including Scott McLaughlin, Pato Award, Nolan Siegel, and Marcus Ericsson. Scott McLaughlin was in the wall, brought out a caution because he had, say it with me, Ethan, a loose wheel. You didn't say it with me. Come on.
oh, sorry. Let's hear it from the top. Three, two, one. A
Loose
loose
wheel.
wheel. There
I'm
we
not gonna
go.
edit that out. Anyway, most pit, the first three out were Herta, Armstrong, Kirkwood on the group that pitted. Top 16 stay out. Include that was including the guys that already had pitted and a bunch of others, led by Pelot, VK, and the 45 of Louis Foster. Meanwhile, Will Power just decides to hit Christian Rasmussen while Pelot leads. Alexander Rossi has big damage after hitting the wall that brought out a caution. Top 11 stay out, led by Pelot, Dixon, and VK. Kirkwood spins on pit road after contact from Marcus Armstrong. Marcus Armstrong, I think he qualified up near the top, was running second on his strategy. And then after that, that kind of took his race. That started to derail his race. Um, where was I? Yeah. Anyway, the first set were Malukas, Foster, Newgarden, and then we had a huge crash. Shout out Fox for not coming back on the restart, which is just diabolical. Um, like, how do you miss the restart, uh, the most important action that's is coming? Because you don't know when the lead changes are going to happen. if the car is running second, they could be sitting in second for 5 laps. That's kind of hard to predict. Give you some leeway there. But you know when a restart's coming. Like it's not that hard. You see the lights go out on the pace car. Oh, that means it's one to go. We should probably come back from commercial. I don't know. Anyway, you had a crash on the restart. Armstrong, Rosenquist, Siegel, Newgarden, Abel, uh, Ilott, and Dev DiFrancesco were all involved. Abel was on top of Newgarden, and Abel just was really, really, really slow on the restart. I have a different word there, but I'm not allowed to say that. So yeah, I'm gonna give that just the ARCA breaks moment of the week. Just that whole crash sequence of just really weirdness right there.
Clownery all around, if you ask me.
You hit the nail on the head, Ethan. Um, anyway, Dixon and Pillow Pit, VK, Simpson, Daly are the top three at this point, with VK leading. Pato hits uh, Power into the wall, but Power was able to get going. Green flag pit stops. Pato Award leads. 76 of Connor Daly just straight becomes a traffic cone, just falls down the order in the way of everyone. I don't know if he just had a bad car, I guess, but he just dropped like a stone. Christian Rasmussen decided to just drive really super aggressively, make a lot of moves that were very exciting to watch, entertaining. Uh, this is all like outside the top 10, but it was just really like I noted this because it was notable. Like, I know that sentence sounds strange, but like, it was interesting to see just the way he was racing, you know?
Andrew acknowledges racing outside of the top five. Is the world ending?
No, both of those things were outside the top five. Just, it has to be something, oh, wow, that's notable. Instead of, meanwhile, Bob Sacamano passes Bob Smith for 90th place. Who cares? Point just point being it's that an extreme point, but like Christian Rasmussen was not wrong Christian Lundgaard was racing just really aggressively, and then then we had a crash at the end with Siegel and Rosenquist, I think he had a wing damage that caused that crash, and we ended the race under yellow with the podium being Award, VK, Simpson. I give the race a 7 out of 10. For first podium in a long time for Dale Coyne Racing. Uh, give you a number on that. First podium in a long time for Renus VK as well. Also, first career podium for Kiffin Simpson for the Cayman Islands driver there. That's good to see. Just different faces on the podium shows the parity of IndyCar, even though we've had only 4 winners. I think we've now had, how many teams have we now had on the podium? Let me check that too. We've had obviously Ganassi on the podium. Penske's been on the podium. McLaren's been on the podium. Uh, McLaren's still on the Andretti, that's 4. Your big 4 teams have all been on the podium multiple times. And then as well, you have um, uh, AJ Foyt, that's your 5th team on the podium. AJ Foyt again. ECR, that's your 6th team on the podium. And Shank, that's number 7. Just trying to get through all these results in here. Uh, Shank again. And now with Dale Coyne, that's 8 out of your 10 teams have been on the podium this year. Um, the three teams that haven't are Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, Prema, and Junko Solinger. So that that just shows the level of parity in IndyCar. Going back to Dale Coyne Racing, their last podium was actually in 2023, Ethan. That surprises me. Actually, they were always on the podium, hey, for a long time. They had a good 3 years, actually, they go way back with a car on the podium. But their last podium was a 2023 in Gateway with David Malukas. Rinus VK, his last podium was all the way back in 2022 at Alabama, where he had
It
a
was it was
finish.
a very fun podium.
Yeah.
I
So you,
was I was excited to see that, and my goat won. So huge. Was not expecting that, but I enjoyed that.
but yeah, I just think the level of parity in IndyCar is pretty good, even though Pato Award's not Pato Award. Alex Palou is waxing the field every other week.
I mean, I think it's hard to say that there's parity in IndyCar when that's happening because like yes, I see your point, but it's the same thing in like was it like 21 when Max was waxing the field, but like every other week there was a new team on the podium after him. Like that's kind of what it feels like. And if that doesn't count as parity, I don't think you can count this as
Let's see, how many
parity.
teams had a podium for you, Ethan? Uh, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari,
I don't know
McLaren,
if it was 21, but it was one of those
Alpine,
years.
Alpha. Well, this is AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, and Williams. That is eight of the 10 had a podium that year.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
so
Hmm.
it was 21 then. So, I mean, it's
Oh, that was the year Hamilton and Max. That was that year. It
yeah,
might be
you're
22
right.
you're talking
So,
about. Let me check that, but continue.
but still, like it's one of two guys winning every single week, and behind them, anything is happening. I mean, I guess there was a bunch of parity in F1 that year, so. But if do you, my question to you is, do you consider that parity? Because like I consider what's happening in IndyCar. I guess I would consider it parity. It's just not parity at the front.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not the parity that we're used to in IndyCar, where
Exactly,
I
yeah.
think if you look at, I don't know what the numbers
'Cause I
in
think
front
it's
of me. I'm
different
not gonna look.
standards too. Like for F1, that was a lot of parity. For IndyCar, this isn't a lot of parity because they're judged on different standards normally.
Yeah, yeah, that you're right. And I look number of teams. I'd say this is maybe a little bit above average for teams on the podium. I don't have the numbers in front of me to compare back to all the previous years, but yeah, I'd say 7, 8 is about average.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Formula One numbers are because I did look the next year. There were only 4 teams that made the podium that year that Max won everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, I look at it, and then there's more cars in IndyCar too. So that's maybe you can say more chances, but then it's harder. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm not going to look at to see how many different drivers have got on the podium, but if I had just do some numbers in my head, uh, math is being hard right now. I'd say around 14, 15 or so drivers have had podiums this year. Actually, I should probably just check it at this point. But yeah, like if I go down to Newgarden, who's the worst driver in the series who has had a podium and look above him. Everyone else besides no, everyone else has had a podium. So yeah, 16 guys have had a podium, Ethan. If I my quick checking is right, which I do believe it is. Yeah, 16 guys across 8 teams. I'd say that's at the end of the day pretty solid on the amount of podiums.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the rest of those guys uh, further down, only one more driver has a top five finish. So it's kind of interesting. You have kind of the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. And looking at some of the guys that are down there, Connor Daly, oval specialist, the first of those guys. Marcus Ericsson, he's the guy who's won recently. He's the guy with the only other guy with the top five. Alexander Rossi and Graham Rahal, two veterans who we know who they are, and they're very good when at their peak. It's clearly not their peak. So just interesting to see that. I think it's time to move on to Dover. I don't know about you, Ethan.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Done a lot of talking over the last 5 days. My voice sounds weird, that's why. Anyway, Xfinity winner was Connor Zilic. He's been really good since his back injury, where he had to miss that one race, Ethan. Just a lot of wins, a lot of second places as well since that stretch. I'm gonna look up that stretch because Zilic is on a heater right now. Um, since that missed race at Texas, he has 3 wins, 3 seconds, a fourth, and a fifth. And the fifth was at Mexico City, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
So he has just been good everywhere. Like, just kind of just shows you the level that he's at right now. Anyway, the nine of Chase Elliott was on pole. Briscoe got the lead early, then Elliott retook it. In the first part of the run, we had competition cautioned. Uh, Elliott first off, yellow flag pit stops. Elliott leads and wins stage one. Allmendinger and Jones have tire issues late in the stage where they were had tires. I don't know if they went down, but they significantly hampered their running. Green flag pit stops. Elliott has a slow stop. No, first off, stage two, nine of Elliott. First off on yellow flag stops, he led. We had a green flag pit stop. Elliott had a slow stop. Hamlin got the lead. Bell passed Hamlin and wound up winning stage two. Bell first off a yellow flag pit stops. Then Bell spun from the lead. Then Elliott inherited the lead. Then we had green flag pit stops. Rain was coming, Ethan. On the speeding, or on the cycle, we had two guys speed. Logano and Barry. Caution, Bell and Dillon hadn't pitted. Leaders pit, except Hamlin. Chase Elliott took two tires. And this wound up being a terrible strategy call. I said it when I saw it because Ethan, two tires was the worst option Elliott, the nine team could have done. And I'll tell you why. Is if the nine stays out, he leads. Everyone knows this because Bell and Dillon were going to pit. If the nine takes two, he's going to still come out behind Bell and Dillon because there's a ton of lap traffic in between them. So that's a huge gap. So if he takes two, which he wound up doing, he's still going to come out behind those two guys. And then anyone else who stays out, which was what Hamlin did. If you take four tires, you're behind all those guys that I mentioned earlier, but you're on four tires. And then possibly if some guy's taking two, but no one else took two. You're on the full offense if you do that. You can charge hard on four tires than you can on two tires. Or you can be on full defense. Elliott was kind of with his two tires behind guys that took four tires. I don't know about you, Ethan. That doesn't sound like a recipe for success. And we know Bell's a fast car. Well, anyway, Hamlin led for a while. Chastain went in the wall yellow. Rain made the race red. Meanwhile, the top eight stayed. The delay was a little bit. NASCAR could have called it if they wanted it, but they didn't. So I'm gonna hats off to NASCAR. Um, Reddick leads those off pit road that pit top nine stay out, including Hamlin, Bell, Dillon, and Elliott, among others. Bell spins from second, and in the crash, and then Byron and Gregson crash in avoidance. Then we go to overtime. Zane Smith spends. Ryan Preece had damage. Then on the next restart, contact. Hamlin gets lead over 19, who had two tires, or who had actually stopped for four tires rather. And then Hamlin wins 5 out of 10 race for me. Not much passing. It did have a good finish that kind of bumped it up a few points, but yeah, this was not a very good race. Just this is one of those tracks where track position is king, and then these short tracks the next gen was meant to race well at. The next gen's not very good. So that's it. Now into the news, Ethan.
And now for the news.
Yes.
Have some huge news for NASCAR. NASCAR will not return to Chicago in 2026, open to 2027 return. I don't know if this is NASCAR being kind of done with Chicago, or I think it's more Chicago being done with NASCAR.
SVG Dominance Board NASCAR execs.
No, I think it bored Chicago.
It was a joke. It was the
No,
it was
the joke was that I think the better joke was it bored Chicago politicians.
sure.
Anyway, so instead, NASCAR's moving their quote unquote street race to San Diego's Coronado Naval Base in 2026.
How'd you pronounce it?
Coronado?
Okay. Okay. I was just making sure.
What do you think? How do you think I pronounced it?
I don't know the way that it came across on my computer, it just sounded different. I just wanted to make sure you were saying it right.
Okay. I, I'm I'm a huge fan of this move, Ethan, for two reasons, for a handful of reasons. Obviously, keeps street race, racing on a naval base. That's just cool. Gonna say that. Um, Number three is NASCAR this year, for the first time in a long time, had no race in Southern California. In the past, you had Auto Club or the LA Coliseum, and then, or even way back, you had Riverside Road Course, which is now a Walmart parking lot, apparently, or some sort of parking lot. Rest in peace, boo parking lots and strip malls. Um, yeah. And then another thing is, you look at San Diego. San Diego doesn't have much in terms of sports. They got the Padres. Outside of that, they've got their San Diego State College team. They've got UC San Diego and University of San Diego, all kind of mid-major programs. So not much in terms of big professional sports.
I think they have an MLS team now.
Yeah, MLS is soccer. Soccer to me is not big, so we're not going to talk about them.
Okay.
Uh, you got Andrew Hazlett hating on soccer on the Loose Wheel Show bingo. If you even have a Loose Wheel Show bingo card, good on you. Uh,
No one has that. Sorry.
I
Sorry to
know.
disappoint
I'm uh, joking here. Um, yeah, I I think it's an opportunity to NASCAR to get a lot of new fans, especially if this race happens for 10 years. I think that's how you can sustain success.
you. Okay, my question is, how are like normal like civilian fans gonna be like cleared to like go and watch the race because it's on a an like active Air Force base, like one of the biggest in the country, I believe. I have no idea how that would work because like Sebring, like that's not that's no longer active, right? Like,
It's still an active airport, but
but it's not like a
not,
naval
it's
base or
not,
anything like
yeah,
that.
it's just an
Like,
airport.
so I don't I don't understand how the logistics of that work also. Well, I am excited for all the reasons that you said. I'm also a little cautious because track layout is TBA.
Yeah.
I would like to know the track layout before I make any, you know, next level statements about how excited I am. Granted, Chicago had a very, 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 very boring track layout, and I think it worked just fine. Um, but still, I would like to know what the actual layout would look like before I give it my overwhelming support. But yeah, cautiously optimistic. I think it's cool. I think it's good.
Hmm.
It's good. It's true. We'll see if it's enduring.
Yeah. Um, we'll see. NASCAR is on iRacing testing different models. That's how they came up with the Chicago street design. So we'll see how this same model of testing works at a different location. Like we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a really cool announcement video with six drivers. They did have a layout laid out, but that's not the layout they're going to use. So don't get your hopes up. I know if you haven't watched the announcement video, watch it. It's pretty cool. You have someone saying a word I can't say due to FCC violations, even though we're not on the live air. I still don't want to say it. So yeah, I think it was Noah Gregson, which is very Noah Gregson like. Yeah, you had Chase Briscoe, Noah
What letter did the word start with?
S,
Mm,
as in Shamuel,
as
um,
in, okay. As in, you know?
as in silence. Yes, exactly, Ethan.
No, as in, fill in the blank.
Yeah, I know. I was
But
making a joke. But yeah, you had Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, Noah Gregson, William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Carson Hocevar all there. So yeah, um, moving on to some NASCAR news. 2311 in front row handed Raystart Lifeline with a new rule change. That is the rule NASCAR, if they want to, can say, hey, no more than 40 cars can enter this race, which would guarantee 2311 and Front Row Motorsports
that
locked in.
just sounds like the charter system without any benefits and with extra steps.
Hmm. Yeah. With that said, um, there's two general reactions to this move. Some people are saying, "Hey, NASCAR's being nice, making sure that the teams are going to stay in without losing, so they're not going to be lose lose out on rate getting into races." And other people are saying, "Nah, oh, this is just NASCAR trying to make themselves look better in court." I think both things are true. I think NASCAR doesn't want the teams to miss out on the show. Yeah, I said it before and I say it again. This has just gone on too long. We've talked about this now for I think really, I think the first wind of this was like around Charlotte last year on at the Coke 600 Memorial Day, saying, "Hey, this agreement is taking too long. We're not sure if we're going to sign it." It's now where we're at now. It's certainly evolved a lot over the 14 months since that point, but this has gone on, quite frankly, way too long, in my opinion. I want this to be over with. As and I want I don't At this point I don't even know what I want. But anyway, moving on to the next bit of news, not really news, is Larry McReynolds and Daniel Trotta. They have a Sirius XM show, and they were going on talking about the playoffs. And I don't know, one of them said, "Oh, there is a someone on the competition committee, playoff committee, who has been complaining a lot and wanting to go back to a full season points format, which a lot of people want to do." And then Larry McReynolds goes, "Oh, is it a driver with no championships?" And Daniel Trotta, she doesn't just say yes, but then she basically said yes, and then it was like, "Oh yeah, I that's going backwards. We need to move forwards." And I give them the chicken award just because the way they said what they said, just clown foolery. Like, I know what you, I know what your job is, to support NASCAR and decisions they make. That's why you have a show on NASCAR radio. Like, but you don't have to put other people down for your opinion. Doesn't make you look good. A lot of people on Twitter were thought they were criticizing Mark Martin, who I think a few hours before this happened yesterday, said, "Yeah, NASCAR needs to not have a full season long points, needs to go back to a full season long points format." So yeah, I don't, as someone who doesn't think NASCAR should go back to that, you don't have to be like that. Like,
I think NASCAR should go back to that.
like,
And I think respect, just yeah, I don't know. Be better.
like, like, I respect your opinion, but Ethan, but I obviously don't agree that NASCAR should go back to full season point system. I would go back to kind of a top 10 points make it in plus two wild cards and then reset from there with bonuses that adequately represent how the everyone ran. So, yeah, I I see that art, like, I see definitely understand that argument, but like the like, you don't need to put people down to put yourself up. It's not how anything works in life at the end of the day. So yeah, Larry and Danielle, they get the chicken award this week. Ethan, you want to talk about Cadillac?
I would, yes. So we've obviously had a whole bunch of like rumors and stuff of that nature over, who could be um dry lat next year, but we haven't really had anything too concrete. But now Cadillac's team principal Graham Loudon has gone out and said certain drivers that he's talking to, and Newsweek put together an article about that by I don't know how to say that name, so by Newsweek. um and we're just going to go over it. So Loudon confirmed that the team is talking to Sergio Perez. He would be a great leader for that team, especially if they got a young driver alongside him. That would, I mean, it would just be a perfect dynamic, in my opinion. Sergio is a guy who we've seen be able to lead um, midfield teams. So, yeah, I think that that's a perfect number one, but we'll see if it actually happens. But it seems likely at this point that Sergio Perez could be one of those drivers, whether they go with a veteran or a rookie or other young driver as the number two. About Colton Herta, he said, he's a driver who has good abilities and a lot of positives, but he doesn't have a super license, so he wouldn't be a potential driver. Kind of ending that. He also said that he's talking to Mick Schumacher, and here's the thing. I understand you have to cast a wide net here, but I really don't think that Mick Schumacher is an F1 level talent. I think he's off doing things that suit him more now in the endurance racing world. I think that that's somewhere where he can thrive. I mean, he hasn't really had uh like a ginormous amount of success, but he's had some podiums there, and he's surely shown his talent at least in endurance racing. But like I said, I just don't really think he's an F1 level driver. He was solid on his road to F1, but like the year he won F2, if I remember correctly, was a very weak year. And then that doesn't even matter because once he did get to F1, there was nothing that ever showed he was taking any step forward. And you can say like, okay, throw his rookie season out the window because one, that Haas was otherworldly horrific. Um, but by the time, year two rolls around, you want to see some sort of improvement, and there was just never really any signs of improvement. And I think after 2 years of not doing anything, it's fair to say that a driver isn't ready for F1. And a lot of people will say that Mick Schumacher deserves another chance, but I just don't see it. I don't think so. If you have 2 years to prove yourself in F1 and you don't perform, I think that's the end of it, in my personal opinion. But I understand they have to cast a wide net there. So, fair enough. Uh, On to the next driver, Valtteri Bottas. He Loudon said that they're talking to Valtteri, but something within his quotes about Valtteri kind of make it feel like they're not going to go in that direction, which I don't understand because I think that he would be a great driver for that team. He said, he knows Valtteri well, but he said that Valtteri's proved things already, and he wants to go after someone who is hungry to prove themselves, basically. Like they want someone that has something like a point to prove. I don't really know if that's like the greatest way to go about things, because you can't tell me, Andrew, that Valtteri Bottas wouldn't be just as motivated to to do his best in that car as a guy like Sergio Perez. You know what I mean? And I think Valtteri would be a great driver. I think that he deserves to be in F1. He's obviously like not going to be, peak Mercedes Valtteri Bottas, but I think he can be a very good driver. And if it was up to me, I would I would go with I would probably go with Valtteri and Sergio. I don't think you need a young guy just yet. I think you need two solid drivers who can give the team a good footing and then eventually bring in a younger talent.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
That's just me though.
I
I'm
I, I agree wholeheartedly. Like,
Yeah,
if you're gonna get established, you need something that's established.
yeah. Um, he also mentioned three other names. He mentioned specifically Felipe Drugovich, Frederick Vesti, and Arvid Lindblad. Um, all he really said is that there are some really good F2 drivers, and then he listed those guys. He mentioned that Lindblad is obviously backed by Red Bull, so honestly, it would be pretty big for Cadillac if they could get like a bit of like a loan deal from Red Bull there. I don't know if that would what that would bring to the team really, but I mean, I think it could maybe bring at least money to them in some way, shape, or form. Um, Plus, like it helps establish the team as like a real thing because you're having Red Bull, which is one of the biggest teams, like kind of believe in them, trusting them with the development of one of their young drivers. And obviously, a team like Cadillac isn't going to want to be seen as some feeder team to the big guys, but when you're starting from scratch, coming out of nowhere, you're probably not going to be competing right away. So I don't think that's the worst thing to be seen as. But I also don't think that Lindblad, um, I don't think that he will be a member of Cadillac. I think either another season of F2 or he'll be part of the RB team. We'll do our 2026 F1 grid predictions sometime soon, probably during the 3 week break that's a few weeks away. Um, as for Vesti, I think that, the paddock is probably cool on him. Maybe Cadillac thinks differently, but I think if they did, he would have said a little bit more there. And Felipe, good driver, but I think the same thing. I think that, unfortunately, he's a little bit forgotten by the paddock. Um, but I think that he's more likely than the other two. And we've talked about it. He probably does deserve at least a chance in F1. Last guy I want to mention, not because he was mentioned, but Pato O'Ward addressed the rumors of him going to Cadillac, and he basically said that the rumors of him going to Cadillac were like Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift dating rumors. So
I doubt
uh,
that.
never a thing that happened. So shout out to Pato for the good quote, but there's nothing cooking there. And then for the next piece of news, F1 is on target to become net zero emissions with by 2030. They're on track to yeah have zero carbon emissions, which I don't know how that's like even possible, but F1 has gotten better at limiting its emissions despite the calendar growing. Because I mean, I don't know if you know this, Andrew. I'm sure you do, but maybe there are people out there that don't. The actual emissions from the F1 cars themselves are very, very minute, very, very small, but the all the travel, traveling all around the world, back and forth, that puts a big strain on the environment as well as like the factories and all that. But we're seeing, despite calendars growing and emissions dropping because, facilities are using renewable energy power now. The transportation across Europe and um, you know, the rest of the world is is dropping because they're using more uh they're using biofuel trucks in Europe, which is dropping emissions a lot. The cars will still be getting more sustainable. Uh so, in my opinion, it's racing. It's okay if there's some, you know,
Hmm.
environmental instability with the cars, I suppose, because that's such a very, 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 very small part of it all. And I think that, the effect that the cars actually have on the world is so small that it doesn't matter. However, obviously the transportation and the factories and all that, if you can get that as clean as possible, that's that's so huge, not only for the PR of the sport, but also just because, yeah, like it is better for the environment, and we're all racing fans here. It is inherently bad for the environment, but if you can get as good as possible, why is that not a good thing? Why should that not be something that's celebrated? So good
Right.
on F1. Um, Love to see it.
And now for next week's race previews.
Yeah. Moving into the previews, Laguna Seca. Right now, the only Indy Next driver that I saw last I saw that's racing on the part-time base. Oh, we got a couple others. Uh, your rotating drivers this week. Uh, 18 for HMD Max Taylor. 30 for HMD Liam Skeets, and 39 for HMD Juan Manuel Correa. Um, this driver's had much success this season. Taylor with a seventh place is his best finish in three races. Skeets with a sixth in is his best in six races. Juan Manuel Correa has a third in six races. He's the best had the best track record so far. Um, so yeah, that's kind of just a couple things to note there. Uh, moving to the five, Colton Herta, he's won there twice. Alex Palou won there twice. Scott Dixon won there once. It's kind of being a new race. Not many winners have won, just those three. So I went down for the rest. Uh, Renus VK has won two Indy Lights races there. Same for Kyle Kirkwood. Honorable mention is Pato Ward because I felt like it. Um, NASCAR is going to Indianapolis. Trucks are at Indianapolis Raceway Park, the short track, not Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the big Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So the five I've got was not many former winners there as well. Kyle Busch won there twice. Brad Keselowski won there once. Kyle Larson won there once as well. In the I will go with the Chase Elliott because he's the points leader, and will excuse me, William Byron because he won there in the Xfinity Series. Honorable mentions are Riley Herbst and Tyler Dillon because they've both won there in the Xfinity Series, but they're not very good in the Cup Series, so that's why I honorable mention them. This is the final race of the in-season tournament that I've been neglecting. We have Gibbs versus Ty Dillon.
The battle of the two
I,
ties.
yay. I am looking forward to this. Like,
Yeah, I can tell by the tone of your voice.
yeah, like we do not care. But I just wanted to mention the battle of the tie. Um, be an interesting if tie and tie.
What happens in the case of tie and tie tying? Is there a tiebreaker for the tie and
There
ties?
is a tiebreaker, but I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
The rotating and open entries, you've got Jesse Love in the 62, Josh Bilicki in the
Yay.
66, and Catherine Legg in the 78. Xfinity Series, oh 07 and 14 for SS Greenlight are Logan Bearden and Garrett Smithley, respectively. Kyle Larson in the 17 for Hendrick, Eric Almirola in the 19 for Gibbs, Catherine Legg in the 32 for Jordan Anderson, 35 and 53 for Joey Gase Racing are David Starr and Joey Gase, respectively. Mason Massey in the 45 for Alpha Prime, 70 is Leland Honeyman Jr., 74 for Mike Harmon is Dawson Cram. 91 for DGM is Josh Bilicki. Truck Series 1 Tricon is Brent Cruz. 02 is for Youngs is Jason Alexander. 20 for the same team is Jordan Anderson. Uh, Young Brothers 2 is Cody Dennison. 22 for the same team is Alan Waller. 07 is going to be Butterbean Queen for Spire and Corey Day in the 7 for the same team. Greg Van Alst is starting his own truck team, and he'll be in the number 35 for it. Ross Chastain in the 44 for Nice. Luke Fenhouse will be in the 66 for ThorSport, and the 74 for Mike Harmon is TVA. What do you got for me for Belgium, Ethan?
Well, before that, actually, I have a bit of breaking F1 news. Per Austrian news source ORF, Max Verstappen's exit clause for the season has expired. So the earliest he would be able to join another team is 2027. Just an interesting bit of news there. Potentially there could still be some sort of buyout, but we know that that's not going to happen. So that's that. And on to the actual race weekend at Belgium. It could be very, very rainy. And we know how crazy it can get at Belgium when it does get super, super rainy. So hopefully it can be a respectable amount of rain and we can have good racing and be able to enjoy the chaos that the rain provides without it being the safety car race that that shall not be mentioned. We have a full support cast with F2 and F3 there, and I actually do have a driver move for you, Andrew.
Wahoo.
So Freddie Slater, who, if you don't know, that's okay,
I've
is
heard of him.
okay. He is not making his season debut, but he is making his debut for High Tech in the F3 series. The number 15 car for High Tech has really it's been a bit of a rotating door. You had the same driver for the first 4 rounds, then you had a different driver for the next 2 rounds, then you had a third driver for the 7th round of the season, and now Freddie Slater is coming in. He earlier this season raced with AIX Racing in round 2, which was Bahrain, I think.
I might be right.
It was Bahrain. And Freddie Slater, his very first time out in F3, what does he do? Well, he gets a second place in the sprint race with the fastest lap. So, if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does. But let me hype him up a little bit more. This kid, 16 years old, and he's already had a very impressive junior series. He's won the Ginetta Junior Championship, which guys like Lando Norris have won in the past. He's won Formula 4 UAE. He's won the Italian F4 championship. He's placed second in Euro 4 championship. This year he placed second in Formula Regional Middle East, and he's currently first in the Formula Regional European Championship. In the Middle Eastern Series, he's raced with Mumbai Falcons. In the European Series, he's raced with Prema primarily. So he's a guy who has really shown his talent at a very young age. I don't know how long he'll be racing for high tech in F3, but definitely a guy to watch out for this weekend. And if he sticks with high tech for the rest of the year, a guy to watch out for the rest of the season because despite his very young age, he just keeps winning.
Mhm. Yeah. Is that all you've got for Belgium preview?
And that's all I got for Belgium. It's gonna rain, so it could be crazy, but nothing changing in the actual F1 world. I
Uh,
mean, it, McLaren will be fast, Mercedes will be fast. We'll see if Ferrari can put together a good wet race. Yeah,
all
I'm
right.
excited.
Well, yeah. So into pick points,
And now for next week's race picks.
Ethan and each got six. Guests got one last week. Uh, I had Kirkwood beating Dixon and Pillow, got me a point. You guys had Allgaier beating Ryan Truex, got you and the guest a point. We both had Denny Hamlin winning, so that got us five. So the gaps now are I, Ethan, you lead by 20 over me, 66 over the guest. Total of 223 to you, 203 to me, 157 for the guest. Um, this is the most amount of picks we're making this for all season this weekend. So huge opportunity for all three of us to either gain on each other or vice versa, lose on each other. So getting into it in Indy next, we all have the same race. One winner, Dennis Hauger for Laguna Seca. They're doing two races there. Ethan and I are doing the same pick. Morgan going with Kyle Collette, who I believe won there last year. I think in both races.
He might have won there last year, Andrew, but he didn't have to go against the guy that we both picked.
Yeah, Dennis Hauger's just been dominating the season. So I think it's safe to say he'll win at least one of the races.
For sure. Don't know which one he's gonna win. I would say that Kyle could, go out and win one of them, but I feel more confident about how you're doing that. So I'm gonna pick him for both races. And again, I don't know which race he would win and which race he wouldn't. So just covering my bases there. And you are too.
Yeah. Moving into the main IndyCar series, uh, yes, Morgan has Kyle Kirkwood. Uh, as I said, won there twice in Indy next. Or what is now Indy next. I'm gonna go Alex Palou. Just been so down this year. This is I don't see why he doesn't win. Simple as that.
Yeah. Um, you put in all your picks before I did, so I didn't want to, again, I'm all about the fans here, so I didn't want to, pick everything the same. So I decided to go for a different guy. I went for Colton Herta because look, we need more winners this season in IndyCar, one. And
Agreed.
two, this is Colton's track. Like if there's gonna be a place he wins this year, like it's gonna be here. Laguna Seca is a
Race.
great track for him and won there twice, a whole lot of other good finishes, I believe. So, yeah, I
Um,
wanted to pick Pato for the 3 wins in 3 weeks, but he's just awful there, honestly.
Moving into F3, guess going with Rafael Camara for both races. I believe still the points leader. I went with Noel Leon for the sprint, Callum Voisin for the main race. Both those drivers had good weekends there last season. Both had podiums. That's kind of my logic. Ethan, you went completely different route.
I went with Tim Tramitz, who I think I don't remember if he was racing F2 or F3 last year, but I know he was on the podium for the or sorry, if he was it must have been F3. He was on the podium there last year. So sure, why not? And then Rafael Camara, because he's, in my opinion, the best driver in that series right now. Yeah, that's simple.
Going into the F2 weekend, I went with Richard Vershaw, Jack Crawford. Had a couple of good results there last year. Ethan, if you want to go to your pick real quick
For the sprint race only?
for both of them.
Okay. I took Gabriel Mini in the sprint race. He's done fairly well in sprints this year, but this was also kind of just a feel pick. I don't know. It just kind of is. I don't have anything more for you on that one. For the second one, second pick, main race, I have Richard Vershaw, who is very experienced. I think that experience matters at a place like Belgium. Um, and it's close to, or I mean, it's not like crazy far from where he's from. So, maybe some, not exactly home support, but some sort of support, you get the Max fans coming over from the Netherlands. So, I don't know if there's any Richard Vershaw fans, but maybe his family is there. I don't know.
Morgan went with Arvid Lundblad for both races. He said, "That boy gonna kill it."
I
So,
mean, he could, but I mean, trust me, I I rate I rate Arvid up there with the best of them in F2, but he only has two wins this year, so I would be shocked if he kind of out of nowhere swept a weekend.
mhm. uh, for the sprint race, we went three different ways. Uh, Morgan went Max Verstappen. I went Lando Norris. This kind of feels like a Lando Norris track, from in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree because Lando hasn't had really all the results that would make you say, "Oh, this is a Lando track." But if you look deeper, I would say it is. His rookie season, he almost had an amazing result there before his engine decided to die on him. The awful safety car race that shall not be mentioned, he was going to get pole for
Both
that, or
ways.
he wrecked himself. So he's been, a few instances away from some really impressive results at that track. But um, I picked Oscar Piastri only because I didn't want to have the same pick as you. I wanted to make things a little interesting. But I would love if Lando won. You could take those 5 points gladly. Take them. They're yours.
We both picked Lando for the main race, Oscar P2. Guess Oscar Lando, and then Guess and I had the same third place pick in Max Verstappen. Max seems to be always good there. I think even when he didn't have the best car, he still won a race there when he was young. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Ethan. So yeah, that's why I threw Max third compared to any of the other guys.
Yeah, Max is definitely great there. Um, Definitely a solid pick. And like you said, we both took Oscar P2. I don't think the Oscars really lost anything. I think it's just that Lando has now gained some in the last few weeks. They made some adjustments to that car that I think has made it a more comfortable drive for him. And I think it can really be, you know, anyone's week from here on out. We'll see if I'm correct in that. But, before it kind of felt like it was Oscars week more times than not. So we'll see how it actually plays out. But yeah, on to my third pick. I'm going Lewis Hamilton because Lewis in his entire F1 career has never finished worse than fourth at Spa. He's he's gotten better in that car, I think. I think he's finally turned a little bit of a corner. He has a few fourth place finishes in a row. Um, and as good as Nico's drive in the UK to secure that podium was, Lewis was a little bit unlucky, I think you can say. I think I don't want to take anything away from Nico. I think Nico was a lot better than Lewis was unlucky, but different, slightly different circumstances. Lewis definitely gets a podium. He's driving well. We know he can wheel it in the wet. Can Ferrari provide him an opportunity to win in the wet is the better question, or even get a podium in the wet is the better question. But I think that this would be a great spot for him to get his first non-sprint podium um in Ferrari. But since he keeps, doing it in sprint races instead, with my luck, he'll get third in the sprint race and then finish 17th in the actual race.
Going over to NASCAR at IRP, the short track, guest took Chandler Smith, always good at the short tracks. Uh, Seems like taking a guy who's just good everywhere, Corey Heim. Kind of a boring pick, but still, I
Yeah.
think a good one.
I both those picks are valid, but I don't think either pick is the obvious pick. I think the obvious pick is Ty Majeski, who is, a guy who's not only won on that track before, but he's known for these kinds of tracks in general. It's his playground. He's last year's champion and he hasn't gotten a win yet. So it's about time he's due. And you're going to a place where it's like, yeah, this is his spot. So yeah, Heim's good at short tracks. Chandler Smith, he's good at short tracks. Ty Majeski made a name for himself on short tracks.
That is true, Ethan, but we'll see. Um, we all went Kyle Larson in Xfinity, uh, arguably the best driver in Cup, going to Xfinity. Why wouldn't you pick him? Simple as that. Guess going with Ty Gibbs Morgan on his Ty Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs truther. His source for the win was that it came to him in a dream.
My head's just in my hand right now. I think here's a hot take, Ethan. Ty Dillon's gonna beat Ty Gibbs this week.
Okay. I'll
Just
say Ty Gibbs beats Ty Dillon, but I don't really care.
yeah. Anyway,
I've 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 mentioned I think I've mentioned before that I think this in-season tournament is S tier dumb. Um, if I haven't said that before, I just said it now. So
mm, yeah, I think that verbiage is a new one. I'll take William Byron, one there in the Xfinity Series. I think so. Now we start to get on a little bit of run of normal tracks. Uh, Dover last week, Iowa this week. Uh, or Iowa next week rather. Just I think William Byron's going to kind of come out again from the shadows.
hmm I'm taking Tyler Reddick. He's it's kind of it's kind of interesting, because this is a track that this layout hasn't really been raced on a whole lot in, very recent F1
F1,
history. Last year,
F1, Ethan.
NASCAR, sorry. Last year was the first year that they were back on the oval after racing the road course for a few years. And in the first year that Tyler Reddick was a full-time NASCAR Cup Series driver, he did he had a respectable finish on that, oval IMS track. I think he finished top 10. I remembered when I was doing my research yesterday, and I picked all these after midnight. So, like after midnight, anything can sound like a great pick. So that's why maybe some of these picks are different from what I would usually take. But I'll carry on. Then, few years of the road course, we come back to the oval, and he puts it P2 last year, finishes second. Okay. he's proven that he's good there. Come back this year, hasn't won a race yet. This is a guy that won the regular season championship last year. Doesn't even have a single win this year. Kind of like Colton Herta, he's due. Dover wasn't a super great race for him. Finished outside the top 10, but before that, 3 races in a row in the top 6. I think that he can get back in the win column, get back on a good stretch here, and maybe bring me home 5 points.
All right. There you heard it from Ethan. That's going to be it for episode 29 of the Loose Wheels Show. That's all I've got to say. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Steve.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked a fine time to leave me loose, wheel.